Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary, back with episode number 34 of Just Jets. How you doing? Oh, I'm excited for some Jets therapy. This is what the show has turned into. I'm about it, though. We need this as Jets fans, and I'm excited to answer your questions. We got a ton of questions. We're going to talk Sam Darnold. We're going to talk Greg Williams. We're going to talk about our thoughts for this upcoming week. But before all of that, I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Manscaped. I talked to you about the Lawnmower 3.0. Well, look at this bad boy right here. I got the Weed Whacker. This thing is tremendous. You can use it in your nose, clean out the nose hairs, in the ear, clean out some ear hair. And listen, guys, I mean, I'm 25 years old. I'm not quite at that point yet. It's getting there. I noticed the nose hair growing a little bit longer, maybe a little older than me, maybe a little hairier than me. But you got to take care of that stuff. And the Weed Whacker is the perfect thing for that. So what I'm going to do for you, promo code JETS20 at manscaped.com gets you 20% off and free shipping. I'm hooking you up. So you can get the Lawnmower 3.0. I talked about that a million times on the channel. Or the Weed Whacker. Beautiful for ear trimming and nose hair trimming. So now that we got that out of the way, let's jump into it. Sam Darnold could miss some time, which is not great because he missed time in his rookie year with an injury. Had mono, missed 3 games last year. And let's face it, I don't want to watch Joe Flacco. None of us want to watch Joe Flacco or Morgan. The kid's not ready. We know that. So in the game on Thursday night against the Denver Broncos, Sam Darnold looked okay in the beginning of the game. Definitely was okay. I thought his overall performance was he was okay. Some good, some bad. But the shoulder injury was what I noticed. So it looked like he held on to the ball too long. He got thrown down for a sack, landed right on his shoulder. And Troy Aikman's like, broken collarbone. Had it happen to me. That's what that is. So I'm sitting there all depressed after a nice 46-yard touchdown run. And somehow on the next possession, Sam Darnold comes back and he puts his helmet on and goes in the game. How he was somehow able to come back into this game, I have no clue. But he is definitely a question mark for this week. It's really all about how much or how prepared he is to throw the football. I'm sure that's going to change over the next couple of days as we're still a little bit far away out from Sunday, but he might have to miss time. And the assumption would be Joe Flacco, and that's about worst case scenario. Not because I don't think Joe Flacco's an okay backup. It's you're an 0-4 team with a lame duck head coach, with Joe Flacco at this point in his career in 2020 as the quarterback, Frank Gore, who's a million years old, at running back, wide receiver Chris Hogan getting targets. Like this offense is just not good. We know it's not good, but having to run through Joe Flacco, Frank Gore, and Hogan especially, like there's nothing fun, is it? There's no fun in that. There is zero fun in that. At least with Sam Darnold, if it was Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, Denzel Mims, okay, you still might not be good, but at least there's okay, you're rooting for some things. You're not rooting for anything with Joe Flacco. Come on. He's not a long-term answer. He's on the back 9. He's getting one more payday and then retiring and doing whatever Joe Flacco likes to do after his contract's over. Frank Gore, I mean, the man's approaching 40 years old. He has a son who's playing at the college level. He is not a long-term solution for the New York Jets either. And Hogan, who knows what he's going to do. But the point is, Flacco, we don't want to see Joe Flacco. Nobody wants to see him. He looked rough in the limited action that we saw him in. He was obviously rusty, which is expected when there's no preseason, and he hasn't really played in a year at this point. It was expected, and now maybe with a little over a week to prepare, maybe he would look better this week. But why? What's the point of tuning in at that point? Like I said, this is an awful, awful, awful team, the consensus worst team in football. Having to go to a backup quarterback with your already backup running back playing, what's the fun in that? You look across the other sideline, and it's gonna be fun for the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's fun to watch. Cliff Kingsbury is a fun coach. DeAndre Hopkins is fun. Where's the Jets' fun? I would like to have fun for a change, and that Sam Darnold missing time is not fun. So I want to talk about that news briefly. We don't know if he's playing or not. I think I'd be surprised if he played. Obviously he wants to play. He came back and finished the game somehow, but I think it's going to be Flacco, which is just depressing, which I kind of we'll transition to another depressing topic. I wanted to talk about Greg Williams. So he has really regressed hard this year, or that defense as a whole has really regressed hard this year. And we've seen a big difference from the 2019 unit to the 2020 unit. And they're really just one of the things that I've noticed, besides them being just downright bad, and part of that is lack of talent. But when you have Pierre Desir get beat like a drum against the Denver Broncos, it's just appalling. This guy was brought in to be a capable starter. I wasn't going to say he was going to be great by no stretch of the imagination, but you'd think he'd be better than Darryl Roberts or Tremaine Johnson. No, he's not. He's probably equal at this point. Bless Austin struggled in tackling. They traded for Bradley McDougald, who's supposedly very good in coverage, but he's been really bad. Through the first 4 games, Bradley McDougald's been really, really bad. But the undisciplined play is what really, really bothers me. They had 4 personal fouls in the first half and 5 on the game. How does that happen? How in an NFL game in 2020 is that happening? And the shenanigans at the end of the game, it's over, dude. Just get out of there. What is the point of that stupid stuff? I know they were upset because Sam Darnold got thrown down. Was that a dirty play? Borderline. It should have probably been a penalty, but still, there's no reason for that at the end of the game. Just move on. You got your doors blown off again. Can we just get out of there? It was embarrassing enough. A national televised game. Got beat. Go to 0-4. Your defense stinks, Todd. I almost called him Todd Bowles. Greg Williams, your defense stinks right now. I don't want to hear about any advanced analytic that you somehow found to prove that this Jets defense is actually not as bad as we think. No, they're awful. They let Brett Rippon, who no one ever heard of 2 weeks ago, march up and down the field at will. At will. Pierre Desir was getting picked on. Completely picked on. And they could not stop the run early on in that game. You knew that's what they were going to do. And the first play of the game was 5 yards, 15, 5 yards. It's how did you just get 25 yards right off the bat when you know that's their game plan? Yes. In the second half, they started to turn them over a couple of times. They did it on back-to-back drives. It got them back in the game. But it doesn't matter. I don't care about the 3 turnovers because somehow, some way, even with those 3 turnovers, you were still getting beat badly. If you create 3 turnovers, you should win that game going away. That wasn't the case. The Jets were in it for a little bit in the fourth quarter, but after that Melvin Gordon disaster, which again was just poor tackling, they didn't want to be there. This looks like a team who does not want to play for their head coach in Adam Gase, and Greg Williams, who was a big rah-rah guy last year, got a lot out of that unit, and I gave him a ton of credit last year. I can't give him credit now. He's been really, 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 really bad. Really bad. Their defense is almost as bad as the offense, which is saying something. Offense is by far the worst unit in the league. Defense is pretty damn close. They are pretty damn close, which is scary because there are some decent pieces. I'm not saying it's a great defense by any stretch of the imagination, but Marcus May can play. Quinnen Williams should be able to play. He was a top 3 pick. The guy's been anonymous except for the 49ers game. He had a couple of sacks against the 49ers. The only thing he did was get personal fouls this past week. He's been disappointing. I don't know anyone who could sit here and logically say I think Quinnen Williams has been a good pick at 3. No, he hasn't. Sorry. He has not yet been a good pick. He has not flashed nearly enough. Avery Williamson could play a little bit. Outside of that, how much longer do we got to sit through Henry Anderson? Alec Ogletree. God, Alec Ogletree should not be on the football field in 2020. He's the defensive version of Frank Gore. This is just sad. It's almost elder abuse at this point. He should not be on the football field. He stinks. He is not good. Get him off my team. Patrick Onwuasor, however you pronounce his last name, cannot get healthy fast enough. I want him long gone. Alec Ogletree should not be playing in 2020 in the NFL. It's just embarrassing. It's not good. And Greg Williams should be better than this. And that leads me to my next point on Williams. The plan, obviously, most people's plan was have Greg take over. And, Dowell Loggins would go with Adam Gase, but then you'd have Jim Bob Cooter take over calling the plays on offense. That plan's way out the window. One, because I think Gase is staying through the remainder of the year, which is a joke. But on top of that, Greg is almost as bad as Adam right now, if not worse in some areas, which is just downright sad. So I'm upset about this defense. I really am. Last thing before we get to the voicemails, I want to talk to you guys about what I think on Sunday, this upcoming game. Jets sitting at 0-4. The Cardinals, I think, are a young up-and-coming team. I'm excited about them. I really think Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray put on a show. Cliff Kingsbury was definitely someone that I wanted the New York Jets to hire a couple of years ago. It was really him and Matt Rule were my front runners. And Cliff, I like what he's done in that offense. I think he's made that team a ton of fun. Yeah, they're not perfect. They're not quite there yet, but he put his young quarterback in a fantastic situation. Kyler Murray is so much fun to watch on a week-to-week basis. Like, this is a really good football team. I understand they're coming from the West Coast to play on the East Coast, but I don't care. That makes a difference for some teams. I don't think it's going to matter. When the Jets are this bad, there's no real home field advantage. Not that there would be one right now if things were normal with the Jets sitting at 0-4, but I think they're dropping to 0-5. I really like Arizona big this week. I think they win double digits. I'm going to take them 30-17. I just don't know if the Jets are going to be able to do enough. We don't know who the quarterback is. We don't know if it's going to be Sam or Joe Flacco. We don't know who's coming back from IR and who's going to be healthy. It's really up in the air, which stinks, but I think they go to 0-5. Like, at this point, would we really be stunned if anything different happened? Like, I think that would be actually, I think we would be stunned if the New York Jets somehow were like, oh, yeah, we're going to win this game. We're going to show up for some odd reason this week. No, that's not going to happen. That would make no sense. For what? What's expected? What did you see in the first 4 games this year? You're like, I think this team's going to show up now. Sure, they're going to show up in week 5. No, we haven't seen anything. It's sad. I don't want to be depressing like this. You think I want to be this negative? No, I don't. I want this to be fun. I want to talk about how I'm excited about taking on Cliff Kingsbury, a really good coach and a really good young quarterback. Not excited. Not even a little bit excited. It's week 5. We should have a little bit more excitement than this. I was promised meaningful football in December. For the second year in a row, that's going to miss. It's going to miss. This is not good, man. This really stinks. All right, we're going to get into the voicemails now. All right, we will start with Mike in Bayshore wants to talk about going 0-16.
Mike from Bayshore. Love the show, Matt.
Thank you.
The light at the end of the tunnel for us right now is to go 0-16. I hate to say it.
You might be right.
Number one, the coach that we need is an innovative coach. We need an innovative coach. We can't play catch-up with New England. You look at different divisions like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't play catch-up with Baltimore, and Baltimore doesn't play catch-up with Pittsburgh.
He's right.
Same thing with the NFC West. They have different styles, and that's why they're competitive. That's what we need. And please, God, let Joe D make the hire. For 2, we need draft capital. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to trade Marcus May, Jenkins, or whoever else that we can to get as much draft capital as we can. What do you think?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from on the 0-16. I really don't want to move on from Sam Darnold yet. I really hope he figures this out. So I'm almost hoping that you're not in the number 1 overall pick, and Darnold play well. Like, obviously, what would be really bad is if Darnold struggles the next 12 games and they finish like, I don't know, 4-12 or something stupid like that. But to answer the second part of your question, yeah, I think we're gonna, like, Le'Veon Bell's getting traded. Marcus May might get traded. Jordan Jenkins, maybe. Quinnen Williams, maybe. I don't know. But it's so depressing that that's the conversation. But 0-16 certainly on the table. From a roster building standpoint, I completely understand why it's intriguing to go 0-16, have the number 1 overall pick and draft Trevor Lawrence. It's a lot. It's really a lot. And we're going to see over the next 12 games what the future of this team is. And maybe that is the future. Trevor Lawrence could be the future of this team. We'll see. It's still a long way to go. Thank you for the question, Mike. Next up's Matt from Vermont wants to talk Douglas.
Hey, Matt. This is also Matt from Burlington, Vermont. And after last night's game, which was really sad, for once we actually put up points, but Sam got hurt. It felt like he was trying to carry the team on his back a little bit. And my question to you is, we all blame Gase, and I think we're right to blame Gase, but how much of this comes down to Joe Douglas's roster building from the offseason? I liked what he did with the O-line, but it seems like we all knew that there were big issues with the wide receiving core, which have only been compounded by all the injuries. So how much of this should we put on Joe?
Ooh.
And long term, do you think he's trying to just tank for Trevor Lawrence? I mean, I know we don't want that. I don't want that. But do you think that's his plan? All right. Go Jets somehow.
I really don't think that was his original plan. I think his original plan was to do an evaluation year. Clearly, it did not work out that way because the roster just is not very good. But oh God, I will be critical of him in this area. I think he could have did a much better job with the wide receiver room. Taking a quarterback in round 4, instead of another wide receiver, not good. In round 3, you could have probably went with a wide receiver instead of Zuniga, who hasn't gotten on the field yet. Maybe over P. Ryan also. There's some question marks. I was not a fan of letting Robbie Anderson go. I would have brought him back for sure. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating. I do think Douglas is the right guy long term. I hope that they let him choose the coach, but it's he's not. He hasn't been perfect. He hasn't. There's been some misses, and I think that my biggest issue is the wide receiver room is my biggest flaw. He did a good job with the offensive line, though. I will give him that. So we'll see. He definitely deserves more time than Gase does, for sure. Thank you, Matt, for the question. Next up is Phil. Just some good old-fashioned reaction from Phil.
Hey, Matt. It's Phil from Brooklyn, New York. Wow. So the play calling in the first maybe quarter was good. They let Sam throw the ball a little bit, which they should have because, Broncos are pretty good when it comes to the run defense, but they're not great in the pass defense, as it showed. And then for some reason we just kept giving it to Frank Gore over and over again. What?
I know.
He's a dinosaur. Why are we giving it to him? if Adam Gase wants to run, give it to the rookie, I think.
Yes,
I don't know why we were doing run plays that much, but we were. But give it to the rookie, Perrine, I think, or Ballage. Just let them have their turn. But I also wanted to talk to you about this play. So the Jets got the ball after the I think the Pierre Desir interception or something happened. I think the Broncos had a touchdown or a field goal or something, and then there was 30 seconds or a minute left of the half to go of the second quarter. And, we were doing really well. We were, for the Jets we were doing well. We were getting it down the field, giving it to Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder had an amazing catch on that drive. But then we started to just throw it up in the end zone for absolutely no reason.
Did you get cut off? Oh, no, he's still there. Okay.
Yeah, it was just to Chris Hogan, and then just kept throwing it up in the air for absolutely no reason. And then, just classic Jets where we just, Quinnen Williams, nothing we can do about that. It's not even really his fault. But yeah, disappointing. Let me know what you think. And I thought Sam Darnold played great that game. He does what he can. I think the Jets really just need to fix around him. I think they need to get wide receivers, O-line. Personally, I'd really like Jamar Chase from the draft. That's
me too.
100% my take. Obviously, if we have the first round pick, the number 1 pick, I don't think we're going to do that. But unless it's a huge trade. But Jamar Chase is my number 1. I can't believe I'm talking about drafts right now. I apologize. I know it's September.
There's nothing else to talk about. It's spot on.
October, sorry. But I'll see you. Go Jets and stay safe.
Thank you for calling in, Phil. You're right to feel the way that you did. I don't think Sam played great. I thought he did some things okay. I think he did leave a couple of plays on the field. I think he was bad in week 1 and week 3 and okay in week 2 and 4. That's kind of my take on him so far. He needs to be better than okay going forward. They need to get him going a little bit. Yes, the situation around him stinks. In a perfect world, I would like to build around Sam Darnold. That's my preferred plan. But, I mean, if the Jets are picking first overall, I don't see how you can convince me that they're not taking Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that's what I'm actively rooting for. I'm actively rooting for Sam Darnold to play well because I do believe in him. But it stinks. It's not even Halloween. The season's over, and it's draft talk time, which is depressing. Thank you for calling in, Phil. We're going to get to Malik from California with some reaction.
Hey, Matt. This is Malik from Compton, California. And today I'm still wondering why I am a Jets fan. Gosh. My first question for you today is why can't we score offensively? We could drive down the field from the game that I just watched, but every time we get in the red zone area, we could not score. It's honestly pathetic. Our touchdown last night was very, very lucky. Very lucky. It should have been a tackle, honestly. And my second question for you today is, why do people still believe in Sam Darnold? Yes, Adam Gase is horrible. We all know that. But not all of it falls on him. Sam Darnold, he can move the ball downfield and just in a split of time will throw an interception or a horrible pass. I see him overthrowing. I'm a USC guy myself. I love Sam Darnold at USC and everything. He couldn't win a big game. I went back, watched him. He does not win a big game. And I'm just wondering why people still believe in him.
Didn't he win the Rose Bowl there?
That's all for you. Thank you.
I thought I remembered he won a Rose Bowl. Could be wrong. Anyway, people believe in Sam Darnold because they see the big plays. He does flash. He doesn't do it enough consistently, but they see those highlight reel plays, and they're like, I want to see more of that. That's why they believe in him. And yes, I do think that it's fair to criticize how he has played despite the circumstances. It's not a black and white issue. There's a lot of gray area here, which is not easy to talk about because there's a lot of different factors that play into the reasons why Sam Darnold isn't playing well. As far as the red zone, they've been bad in the red zone for 2 years. It's play calling. You can't call a wheel route to Frank Gore at 37 years old in the red zone. It's stupid. It's stupid. You ran on first down to Gore, ran on second down with Gore, and then you throw a wheel route to Gore on third down. Give me a break. Please give me a break. Thank you, Malik, for the question. Certainly understand the frustration. Next up is Elias from Rochester. Little rant from him as well.
Hey, Matt. This is Elias from Rochester. If you don't mind, I need a rant for a sec.
Go for it, dude.
We just lost to the most banged-up team I've ever seen with a third-string, undrafted rookie free agent, and Case is still here. I think it's pretty obvious the team's tanking. I think at this point, maybe taking Trevor Lawrence I hate saying this, man, but I think taking Trevor Lawrence isn't the worst idea from a pure financial standpoint. Like, by the time you got to give Sam his contract, he's going to be, there's going to be too many holes to fill, and we're not going to have the money to do it. And then I don't want to see, a great quarterback slide. And let's say Sam doesn't work out, which I don't think will happen. I think if you trade him somewhere, he'll turn into a stud with, the Jets' luck. But, my question is, if you want to see the team if the team were to tear it down, if we were to be sellers at the deadline, who do you think could go, and who do you think who do you think?
I like this.
What do you think we could get for those players? Maybe like a Brian Poole or Jordan Jenkins, someone like that. I don't think you'll get much. Maybe trade Le'Veon Bell. Let me hear your thoughts. Also, Pierre Desir. You need to get cut right now.
He was terrible.
I hate stats because he looked good by having 2 interceptions, but you gave up 1 million yards.
Yep.
Fire Adam Gase, but that's not going to happen. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
So guys who I think could get moved. You mentioned a few. Le'Veon Bell to me is a no-brainer. Marcus May potentially could get moved. I would like to extend Marcus May, but you could make a case for it. Quinnen Williams, you could potentially move. I don't think we're getting much for Brian Poole. Jordan Jenkins isn't going to get you much. There's not really a whole lot of pieces. There's not a lot of pieces you can move. There's really not. And as far as the Trevor Lawrence thing goes, I understand why, you're starting over with a rookie contract. Get it. I get that. I really do. So it's that in that aspect is appealing for sure. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe it isn't the worst thing in the world. I'd like to see Sam Darnold do well. It all depends on how the next 12 games go. That's really going to be a really huge factor. But thank you for calling in. Appreciate the rants. And like I said, we're in this together, man. It's all us Jets fans got to stick together. Next up, we're going to go to Ryan. And he wants to talk about a Sam Darnold trade. This is interesting. I like this question.
Yeah, hi, Matt. This is Ryan Buck, a new caller here. I'm actually a big fan of your show. So is my brother. He watches your show all the time. And
thank you, guys.
That's how we,
Appreciate
or
it.
I at least kind of found your show. I'm actually a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, believe it or not, but my brother is a big Jets fan, and he's been a Jets fan for a long time. And I guess I'll get to the point pretty quick here because I know you got a lot of calls to get to. But him and I, my brother and I, that is, we were talking last night, and we were kind of coming up with a hypothetical trade, and we kind of figured this one made a lot of sense for both of our teams. And the trade we came up with, which we wanted to get your thought on, we know how you feel about Sam Darnold and whatnot, but if the Jets do happen, in this scenario, if the Jets do happen to get the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft, I think the consensus would say that they have to go Trevor Lawrence, which means they would move on from Sam Darnold. So the trade we came up with was Sam Darnold to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second-round pick in this year's draft and James Washington.
Ooh.
I think this would benefit both sides because for the Steelers, you could get a franchise quarterback essentially without having to give up a first-round pick. And James Washington is expendable because Chase Claypool can be good, and we also already have Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson along with like Eric Ebron and Vance McDonald. So James Washington makes sense to be able to move. Why would it make sense for the Jets? Well, you got 2 first-round picks. You got 2 third-round picks from the Jamal Adams trade. This trade would give you another second-round pick and James Washington. So you would have 2 firsts. You have the number 1 overall pick. You get Trevor Lawrence. And then you have another first. And then you have 2 seconds and 2 thirds. You can get a lot of players with all of those picks, 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. Plus James Washington, we all know the wide receiver situation that the Jets have. So he would be an instant help in the wide receiver core for the Jets moving forward, Trevor Lawrence. But again, there's a lot of hypothetical stuff in this trade scenario, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. I know you got a lot of calls. Hopefully you can get to this one because I found it an interesting one. Thanks, Matt. Have a good one.
Yeah, really appreciate that. This is a really interesting question. So, okay, if we're taking Trevor Lawrence first overall and we're trading Sam Darnold, I think a second-round pick and a player would be a home run for the Jets. I think that's a lot. If it was just a second-round pick or even if it was just a third-round pick, then I think I wouldn't be stunned by that. But if you're telling me if this was the offer, I would do this in a second-round pick, like you said, 2 first, 2 second, 2 thirds, and then you're getting a wide receiver in here. Washington's not a number 1 receiver, but it adds depth to the wide receiver room, and then maybe you go into 2021 with Allen Robinson or a later first round pick as your number 1 wide, or the Seattle pick as your number 1 receiver, Denzel Mims, Jameson Crowder, James Washington. Maybe you get another body in here in free agency. Like, you have a little bit of legitimacy here. If you're moving on from Sam, I would do that trade in a second. I think that makes sense, and I think Sam would do well in Pittsburgh. And I would really, really be sad to see that because I do like Darnold a lot. I really do. So next up is Hype from the Bronx. He calls in. He's got a rant, so let's hear from him.
Hey, Matt. This is Hype from the Bronx. Love the show.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job. I love the open letter.
Thank you.
I got so much that I want to say. I got more statements.
Let it out, brother. Let it out, man. Let's go.
The first thing is Douglas needs to take over this team.
He does.
You know, putting Greg Williams in there, Cooter, any of these guys to take over if Adam Gase gets fired is not going to work. Douglas needs to step up. He was the one building this team. He needs to see firsthand from the firing squad right there on the field saying, okay, this guy has talent, this guy doesn't have talent, this guy's not making it happen, that guy's not making it happen. Let's get these young players involved and let them be evaluated so he knows he's looking at it. He wants to be Bill Belichick. That's how that's how these great people, Parcells, that's how these great GM coaches built great teams. They took over and they made it happen. Everyone's saying how Sam is damaged. I don't think Sam is damaged.
Ooh.
I think the problem with Sam is he has no confidence in anyone around him. In anyone. He has no confidence in the coaching. He has no confidence in the players that's around him.
Neither do I.
You know,
we have that in common.
I look at games and you see Brady will go to the sideline and he'll be on his iPad. You know what Sam Darnold needs? Sam Darnold needs we need to get Josh McCown back. You know, bring him back. So somebody's there talking to Sam, mentoring him on the field. Hey, look, I just saw you did this. Don't do this. You should be looking at this option. This guy was wide open. Now, that's what Sam needs. He needs someone. He needs an extra set of eyes from somebody who he trusts out there, and they will make Sam back to his USC form.
I hope so.
Yes, Sam is going to turn over the ball. He is going to do that. He's done that throughout his career, but he's made enough plays throughout his career to show that he can carry a team. But Jordan, as much as Jordan could score, he had to pass the ball sometime.
Oh, he got cut off there. But I like that. I like the rant. I really do. I think you brought up some good points there. We do see a lot from Sam Darnold, and there's a lot. I understand why people love him. I really like Sam Darnold. I really hope this works out the rest of this year and beyond. I really do. That would be nice. It's so complicated. It really is. But I appreciate you calling in, and I really want to see Adam Gase gone like you, man. It's long overdue. It really is. Next is Kim Patrick, I think. It was tough to tell, but he wants to talk about Darnold. Let's hear him out.
Hey, Matt, this is Ken Petrick. I just wanted to say, living proof that Sam Darnold needs to go. In the last 20 years, the University of Southern California has given the NFL Matt Leinart, Matt Castle, Cody Kessler, Matt Barkley, John David Booty, Mark Sanchez, Carson Palmer, and Sam Darnold. Your judgment. They just don't seem cut out to do this.
See, I think I understand where we're coming from here when you list off those guys. I think that you're generalizing too much with the school. Like, are we not supposed to look at individual prospects? We just throw out they went to USC. They're not going to make it in this league. That seems lazy. I think we have to look at the individual players. I think each one of those guys is a little bit different. Circumstances matter. I don't know. I can't write somebody off just because of the college they went to. It's not like it's the same coach for each one of those guys too. I don't know. Like, you're going to look at every single USC quarterback now to the end of the time and be like, hey, can't draft him. He's from USC. I don't know. I don't think that's the right way to look at it. Next up is Josh Woodmere wants to talk Lawrence. Let's hear from Josh.
Hi, Matt. It's Josh from Woodmere. It's crazy, man. We are so bad.
Amen, brother.
It's sad, but, I want to talk about Trevor Lawrence, and I know you like Sam Darnold, and I like him too. But it's not like, Gase Gase doesn't make great play calls, and I don't like Gase, and I want him out here just as much as you. And Gase is definitely a problem, but Darnold's also missing throws. Like it's not like he's making every throw and he's executing the play call perfectly, but it's not going to get him to win games. He missed throws in the game against Denver. He was missing guys that were open. Jeff Smith was open when he took that sack and got injured. That wouldn't have happened if he hit Lawrence Cager wide open. And obviously he's got to be better. And I know I called him before and I talked about how it's not that I don't like Sam Darnold, just that I think Trevor Lawrence is so good and he's a can't-miss prospect. And then I know you say sometimes, well, they said that about Sam Darnold. They said Sam Darnold was a good prospect, but they didn't say it was a can't-miss prospect. They didn't say he certainly wasn't as hyped up as Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence might be the best quarterback prospect to ever come out. And
best quarterback
he's
ever.
Definitely going to be better to come out than Sam Darnold was, that's for sure. As good as Sam Darnold was coming out, he had turnover issues that everyone knew about. There's always issues with his accuracy and turnovers. Lawrence doesn't have that really. He's very accurate. He's pretty much flawless. And Darnold, it's so disappointing because you see him make these crazy plays, but then he can't make some simple throws. So he's got to improve. Obviously, there's 12 games left in the season. I hope he could improve. But if he doesn't, and he continues to play like this, I want to know if you think that the Jets should take Trevor Lawrence. So thank you. Love the show, and go Jets.
Lots to unpack. I think if they're picking first overall, they're taking Lawrence. I can't say that Lawrence is the best prospect of all time with Elway. To me, Elway, Manning, Luck, right off the top of my head, I would put above them. Yes, he's a very, very good quarterback prospect. Very, very good. I think he's going to be good in this league. I really do. Best ever? I don't know. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. There's no doubt about it. It's I don't know. I put Lawrence and Joe Burrow at around the same level of quarterback prospect, which is great. He deserves to be the number one overall pick. Sam Darnold was also supposed to be the number one overall pick until the Browns went crazy, and then the Giants took a running back, which was also crazy. Darnold fell to them at 3. He wasn't supposed to be there at 3. Maybe Darnold isn't the prospect that Lawrence was, or Luck, or Burrow, but I don't know. Lawrence's best ever is I can't say that yet. I can't say that yet as a prospect. Last one's Travis from Ohio, and we're just gonna go straight reaction from Travis. Travis is still bummed out.
Hey man, Travis from Ohio.
I hate seeing him like this.
I love Sam Darnold. I bought his high school bobblehead that he donated all of the proceeds in his likeness for charity. I think he has the talent, but I think he has David Carr PTSD, and I think he is seeing ghosts. I hate to say that. We're seeing a ghost of a team, and unfortunately, head case Gase is still there, even after the loss to a third-string quarterback, undrafted. At least he beat Duck Hodges last year.
True.
With the best defense in the league, and the Steelers. Can't do that this year.
No, sir.
Different team. Different result. Anyway. My nightmare is that Sam ends up somehow in New England, and he beats us for the next 15 years. Because I used to call Sam the Brady Slayer when we drafted him, and for him to become Brady after that, to us again, after we had him, like so many other.
Don't do this, Travis. No.
Over there and did well, including Belichick, which really could have reversed all of our fortunes if he would have stayed. But no, we're the Jets. That Pierre Desir touchdown he gave up to Judy.
He stinks.
It hit him in
Desir
the face.
stinks.
and Judy still caught it for a touchdown.
Yep.
Team's embarrassing. Love you, and God bless you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Talking about this horrible team as much as you do. God bless you for it, buddy. All right, love you. F. Adam Gase, F. Jamal Adams, and F. the Johnsons.
Appreciate you checking in, Travis, as always. It's tough. I said it at the top of the show, but it's very much so Jets therapy right now, and we are all very much in this together. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to episode number 34. I can't believe we've done 34 of these already. These are flying by. I love just sitting back, relaxing, talking some New York Jets football, answering questions, chatting with you guys on the voicemails. It's really good. So appreciate you checking in. I'll be back next week, same time. Hopefully we have something a little more positive to talk about. Wouldn't bet on it, but we'll see. For now, I'm Matt O'Leary. This is Just Jets, and I'll talk to you next time.